Normally on Wednesdays, I hit cardio pretty hard, but today on the show, we're going to be talking about the biggest, most important muscle in your body, your mind. I got Adrienne Lowry here. She is an LPC, licensed professional counselor, and we're talking mind next.
Welcome to Talk My Way Out, a podcast dedicated to the pursuit of the best version of you, featuring tips and tricks, motivational stories, life hacks, and more. So keep setting goals. Pay yourself first, and always know your worth. Here is your host, Jeff Martin.
All right, we got another episode, and this one I've been excited about all week long because I think this is all about the engine up here that runs everything else. I'm here with my friend, Adrienne Lowry, and you are a counselor?
I'm a licensed professional counselor in South Carolina.
And I remember I told you early on, even before this thing came out, I was like, I got to have you on because I truly believe like mentality is so much of it. People are always, they're worried about the exercise and diet and kitchen and this and that.
Right.
But if you don't have the thought that I'm going to do it, like this is where it starts.
Right. Exactly.
So before we begin, let's get a little like what brought you to where you wanted to help people in that manner? Right.
So it's funny. My undergrad is actually in computer science, which is obviously completely different. So I did that, but soon after that, I got married, had children. I stayed home with my children for almost 10 years. So during that time, right, I went from, college, married, children, a much different role.
So you were taking care of people anyways, just little ones.
Right, just little ones. So, but throughout my life, I was kind of the one that people would come to, right? I was pretty unbiased, tried to kind of be open to whoever. I had a wide, array of different kinds of friends, and, a lot of people just felt comfortable talking to me. But it wasn't until, it's probably about year 8 into staying home with my kids. And, I knew that, this season is going to end and I'm going to need to I want to go back into the workforce. And, the computer science thing, I was almost 10 years out of that. So I didn't know what was going on. Computer languages have changed, everything, a lot has changed. So it was actually my pastor at the time really affirmed the counseling aspect. He's like, I was kind of talking with him about it. And so that started, in my mind, all right, let me look into grad schools. What do I need to do this? And I just started the program and got my master's. Actually, I became pregnant with my second child while I was getting my master's. So had him, I didn't miss a semester, just kind of kept it going.
Kept,
had him
baby on
during
board.
That. Yeah, he just was kind of along for the ride. Started at a nonprofit counseling center here in Myrtle Beach, and have been there since. And now I'm about a little over halfway with my PhD.
So you're gonna be Dr. A soon.
Well, maybe.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Well, awesome. And it's got to be like, before I was getting ready for this one, I was like, it's got to be a very rewarding, but also draining job at the same time because you're doing it all day, right? It's
sure. And so, and I specialize, I just see adult individuals. Mostly I have a few couples, but mostly adults. And it really, I see everything from mild to moderate anxiety, depression, all the way to more severe mood disorders. So it can kind of be across the board. I'll have, a pretty mild case for the first hour and I go straight into my, into a much more serious case. And so, being able to kind of switch and give each client 100%. So
yeah, because if you get hit with something deep or hard, you're human. You know what I mean? You're a mom. You got a heart.
But there is training. So there's a lot of training for that.
It is
on how to switch
because otherwise it could build up and you take it home and then because you're human too. You're not a machine just listening to them. You know?
So boundaries are important. Self-care is very important. Counselor burnout is a thing. It's talked about widely in our profession. And so, when I'm seeing 8 clients back to back a day for, a few days straight, that can get, really draining. I have to come home to my children, give them, as much as I can. So
And do you think, because you're very fit, I know you from the gym. I met you there and stuff.
Right.
I mean, do you feel like that's a good outlet for you to let some of that go?
That is mine. Like that is my time. That
you hit it hard.
Right.
You hit it very hard when you're there.
I mean, I go, 5 a.m. and usually I'll go again, in the evening, and that is mine. That's nobody else's.
Now, have you always been into fitness and everything?
I have. So I was, growing up into sports a lot and everything. So the time where I had children kind of backed off of it a little bit. Yep. And, the last few years I've wanted to get back into it, especially with my career. I mean, I knew I needed some sort of self-care that was more than just, at night, an hour of just me time, which is important, but I needed something that was mine, that was consistent, that was daily, that was...
It's your time, yeah.
Right, yeah, intentional, deliberate. Yep. So... the exercise for me, was really that outlet.
Now, I discussed this on some of the other ones. Like, I feel like I have to get up and do it. Yeah. Like that's my first thing, because with me, like mentally, if I have a bad day or a client, causes me stress or something like that, to me, those are excuses that build up throughout the day, and then I'll get so flustered, I'll be like, forget it, I'll do it tomorrow.
Right, absolutely. I mean, it's not easy to get up at 4 a.m, but your body, I mean, had 2 weeks to start a habit, right? To start a pattern, right? And so now it's just, even on my days off, I'm there, at that time. It has to be part of your routine. Now, I don't have a choice. It's just like eating breakfast. It's just like,
I every Sunday I schedule it out.
Sure.
Like to me, it's as important as showing up for work. Right. And I say that to people sometimes. They're like, oh, I don't have time to do it.
Right.
You don't have time because you're saying it. There's time.
We make time for what is important.
Absolutely.
Right, period. And that's what I try to bring home to people. I can't do that. I can't. Well, what are you doing? Tell me what your day looks like. And so we always do things that are important to us. This is very important to me. It's a top 3. And so self-care, because it's me. Nobody else is going to take care of me.
And a lot of times, I think a lot of it with people is they lie to themselves, or they make excuses and like tell the same person that's saying, oh, I don't have time. Mm-hmm.
They're justifying why
they'll
they
power
don't
binge 4 hours of Netflix. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, just give yourself 30 minutes of that. You know what I mean? Like, you're worth that.
Right. Absolutely. And that's part of it too. Are you worth it? I mean, self-esteem plays a huge role into that. I mean, and I get it. Going to the gym for the first time or stepping out into that when maybe you haven't been in that arena before is really difficult,
Yes.
And so, but, trying to get over that hump, once you get there though, it's.
Yeah. It's like when I had to be down for the skin surgery.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was in withdrawal.
Right.
Like, I never thought I'd be that guy.
It's depressing. I mean, it can really, it changes.
I missed it. I missed the people. I missed the especially with me, with my job, I work alone.
Right.
So meeting those people every morning, that's my water cooler time, as well as, just, sweat and get it out and do it.
Right.
And, it's weird. Like, I never equated exercise to being therapeutic. It was like, it's something you dreaded.
Right.
And now I crave it.
Well, and I'll ask, if I have somebody coming in for the first time, I have the whole assessment, right? And one of the first questions I ask, all right, do you exercise, right? I mean, I want to hear, what do you do with your day? Because we know scientifically that exercise releases serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, right? These are chemicals that reduce stress and anxiety, period. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's absolutely a place for medication, but if we can, get that too, it's like the natural Prozac.
Get there too, yeah.
I mean, so I mean, if I have somebody that comes in that's, struggling with a life change or, mild to moderate anxiety, depression, whatever, listen, if we can get you exercising first, that can change the game.
You might not need it.
Right, you might not.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there's absolutely a place for that, but I'm all about, like, let's try to, there's a lot more feeling that you've accomplished something and productive when you can do it on your own.
Right.
And like you said, with the social aspect, I mean, for us with our gym, there's a big social aspect, right? Mm-hmm. And that's therapeutic. Support is huge when we deal with any kind of mental illness.
Oh, because there's been many days I'm like, I don't feel like it today, or I'm so sore.
Right,
like I went too hard. And then, like, I'll be like, oh, Adrienne's going to be there.
Right,
or,
sure.
you know what I mean? And I'll be like,
get a text from,
where are you? Like,
Right.
If I didn't show up, like, there's 5 people that will text me by, 6:05.
Right.
Where are you?
and I think for a lot of people, that those relationships carry on into other areas of our life, right? Mm-hmm. So these are some of my best friends that when I'm going through difficult times, I reach out to them. Didn't have anything to do with the gym.
Yep.
But now I've got my little circle, of people. And actually, we know that 3 to 7 people in our inner circle. That's kind of the magic number that we need to be really, really healthy, as far as having that support, because that's part of it. We can't do this on our own. We can't do anything on our own. So, the gym kind of, hits that area too, not only just the exercise.
It does. And then seeing other people excel too. To me, that's just as important to me as any other gains. Like I have a friend, Travis, I did a video with him at the gym.
Right.
He lost 56 pounds.
Yeah,
and I was there
incredible.
the first day he was there. Like I was in the first picture with him.
Yeah.
And to me, like I'm just as proud of him as anything I've done for myself, because like I see him every day. I see him putting in the work, and it's, that, in that environment, I think that's so important,
Absolutely.
So getting into the actual mental part of fitness, we hit upon, like, you think it, elevates your serotonin levels and all that stuff. Do you think just doing it overall just like calluses you and makes you a tougher person, like reaching those goals over and over again?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be other goals in your life too, right? That you want to meet, personal, professional, right? So if we can use the gym to, if you start, with the gym and you start to reach goals, and you have coaches like we do that kind of hold you accountable for those, and, ask you, what are those goals and what are the steps to meet them? We need attainable, we need objective goals. I want measurable. I want to see, all right, and I'm not all about like, okay, so, we have New Year's resolutions, right? We see a lot of people come to the gym during that time. I'm all about like 60 and 90 day resolutions. A lot can happen in a year. I'm
the same with you. With New Year's resolution, have a Tuesday resolution. You know what I mean? Because for the longest time with me, with the weight, I'd be like, oh, I'll start Monday. And like, I can't even tell you how many times I said, oh, I'll start Monday.
Yeah.
And the weird thing with me is it wasn't New Year's Eve. It wasn't to me, the real changeover, it was mental. It was, I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I was on pills. I was taking metformin, and then that wasn't working enough. And it was the first time I had to take a needle and put it in my stomach. And I was like, what are you doing?
And I think we all have a bottom line.
Yeah.
Right. And when we get to there, it's like, I don't have a choice. Like, something has to change. A lot of people will come to see me, right? I get most people kind of as a last resort, which is unfortunate because, it's important to have your mental health, as high as you can be. But, so a lot of times I see them as, this is my last resort. I'm down at the bottom. All right. That's okay. But we have to find ways, to improve that. So, but yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I think it's a lot of, like, I just think our brains are wired to avoid things that are uncomfortable, to the point where you'll lie to yourself.
Right.
To make it okay.
Right. Justify. We justify everything, right? We do that during the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to do this because I got to do this. I'm not, or whatever. But
so
if we can change that mindset.
From the mental perspective, then where does change come from? Is it when like the pain of being where you're at is greater than what you perceive the pain is going to be to change, or is it?
Sure. I think for people it can be different, right? I mean, and it kind of depends on where you come from, right? It depends on environment. It depends on kind of, what you've been modeled to, like what's important. As a child, we have no control over who our parents are,
right,
what they're doing, what we're exposed to, right? But as an adult, it is our job to say, you know what, maybe some of that stuff wasn't quite right. And I need to, maybe start to make some changes. But yeah, I think it's different for everybody. Like I said, we all kind of have our bottom lines where, I'll never get to the point where I'm going to put a needle in me, or I'm never going to get to the point where I'm this weight, or I'm never going to get to the point, right? But I tell most people 99% of our issues start up here with what we're thinking. Okay. So our thought life is everything.
Right.
And like you said, we justify, we have these negative thoughts. Unfortunately, our brain is wired in such a way that the negative stuff is what we kind of is the loudest, right? And so it's easy to succumb to that and to believe it, right? I mean, we believe the lies we tell ourselves.
And I think it's harder now, too, with like social media, because everybody's just putting their best selves out.
Right.
So then you're trying to compare yourself to the life you see everyone else is living.
Right.
And it's like, it's not real.
It's not. It's a lie.
And to me, one of the biggest like revelations I had is like, everyone's messed up. Like in some point,
right.
like,
We
like
all
no
have
one,
our thing. No one.
Even you doing what you do, I'm sure you have your own issues.
Absolutely.
And it's like you know when you can look at life like that and stop seeing the Joneses have it all together.
And the thing is, it's so therapeutic to know that you're not alone in your stuff. So and so that's unfortunate, right, about social media. And I love it when people are really vulnerable and are able to share maybe not the most beautiful things out there, right?
I promise I won't cry this episode. I've been doing that a lot in here.
So, I mean, that's really inspiring because it does show, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
And that can be really, really helpful for people because most people who are struggling feel like they're all alone in that,
right.
Because of the media and everything.
And that was one of the most important things when I decided to do the podcast.
Right.
I wanted to help people, as many people as I can. But I will show myself failing just as, just like I did. I cried with my daughter on an episode. I will show myself real and raw. You're never going to get a highlight reel of me, succeeding at everything because I fail daily at things.
Right. But that's how we grow.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can't get through anything without going through it. And then when you get through it, you've grown. Right. So, I mean, it can be better.
So do you think people in general, the people that come, you said come to you for this is the last resort. There's so many people that just pride or whatever it is won't allow them to go get help.
So it can be a lot of factors. We talk about the barriers to therapy. Okay, so there's lots. It can be pride. It can be culture. There's a lot of cultures where that is just not acceptable. You leave your stuff in your family. You don't tell anybody else about what's going on.
Right.
There's a pride there. It can be financial. That can be a barrier. I work for a nonprofit, so we see people regardless of their ability to pay. So that's a big thing. I mean, we see everyone from the homeless to the ultra wealthy, doesn't matter, right? Insurance, everyone. No insurance, doesn't matter. So that can be a barrier. You're right. Their own depression, anxiety can keep them from even walking in that door. That's why telehealth has been such a great resource, especially during COVID.
Did you do that during COVID?
So I'm a board certified telemental health provider before COVID. Okay. So I was doing it well before COVID hit. Obviously not as much now. I probably have about 25% of my clients are telehealth. We kept our doors open during COVID to kind of have a place where they could come.
I'm sure people needed it during that.
Yes, a lot of places didn't, which was totally understandable. But we tried to keep it open so that they had a place where they could still come. There's a familiarity to that; they can still come and talk.
Did you see an influx from the COVID time?
I have never been busier. Really, ever.
Just people.
We have wait lists. I don't think we have about almost 30 clinicians in our 4 locations, and maybe 2 have availability right now.
I read an article we were talking about with the fitness and the dopamine and feeling good and everything. Yeah. It was it said that rose from the gyms and everything being closed. It's crazy how that correlation.
It has been. I really think the mental, and there's been studies and articles out. You may have read that the mental health issues from COVID are going to be just so great that we've already started seeing, but even over the next few years, how it's affected. We are not made to be isolated.
Right.
We're not made for that.
That's why solitary confinement is a
right. We're just not made
torture.
For that. We're made for relationships. We're made to connect. So when that's kind of taken away from us in a certain way, we don't know what to do. And so, a lot of people, it's funny. I saw a lot of new people, coming in, but a lot of my old clients who I've seen years ago that, have been doing great.
They're like,
I know how to deal with my stuff that we dealt with, but I don't know how to deal with this. Right. Yeah. And so, but I don't either. So for therapists, it's been really difficult too.
Because it's new to you too.
Right.
It's not like you can go to a book of what happened in the COVID of.
Right. This is all new for all of us. And so there's been a lot of in our realm, there's been a lot of stuff out there about how are therapists able to really clinically help these people, as well as ourselves. We're going through it too.
Yeah.
But definitely an influx. I've never been busier. My wait list is, if somebody cancels tomorrow, I can easily put somebody in. It's never been.
And how many people you normally see in a day?
So I can see, if I do 9 to 5, I'll see back to back. I'll see up to 8 a day. Wow. I do have a couple of days where I don't see as many. So I see about 20 to 25 a week.
Again, we were talking before the show, and I was like, you don't think about that. You don't think about the therapist has to deal with 8 unique problems from 8 unique people in a day.
Sure.
And that's got to be taxing on you.
Sure.
And going back, I was like, I could see why fitness and just letting it all out.
Self-care. It's huge. We have about, I have a few minutes in between each. And even like I'll do chair yoga. I'll do my breathing. I will do these techniques that I'm teaching my clients, in between my sessions. Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready. Reset.
So that I'm 100% present for them. Yeah. That's why they come, so.
Yeah. Cause you have to be on, you can't be half day. Like, right. I mean, no matter what you heard.
Sure.
20
and
minutes
I have
before.
my own personal stuff going on, right?
Exactly.
I mean, and it's a skill to be able to separate it. It is a skill that we are taught, and that is an ongoing, thing that we have to do. But
it's amazing, and I applaud you for doing that. I mean, because it's, as taxing as it is, it has to be rewarding to see somebody like
it is.
blossom.
I tell you, it is difficult, but I know that it's much more. These individuals who walk in that door for the first time, they're the bravest people I've ever met. So it's actually to watch them come in. That's probably the most rewarding, where, there's been some people that have actually come into the waiting room maybe 3 different times and never walked into my office because they just couldn't. It was too scary. Right. And then they come in for that 4th time, and I'm just proud that they're here.
Do you think it's a tougher thing for like men to admit it?
So we do see that. Obviously, most of the people I see are women. Probably maybe about 10% are men.
Yeah.
And across the board, I think, I don't have a study in mind, but I think statistically we would see that, less men are open to coming to therapy. A lot of times my couples, it's the wife that makes the man come, right? But once they're in there, it's like, oh, wow.
I know I fought it tooth and nail.
Right.
And now, like, I really don't think any of my change would have came unless I went.
Sure.
And, I told you my background a little bit. Like, it was about probably 2.5 years ago. I didn't feel right. And I was just like, I was locking myself in the house. I wasn't going out. I wasn't talking to anybody.
Right.
And like, it just got worse and worse and worse. And I remember I went to Guns N' Roses to see them in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I thought I was having a heart attack. Like, I legit had to sit on the ground, and I was like, it was the first time in my life that was full on panic.
Right.
And so like after that, I was like, okay, I got to get checked out.
Sure.
And it is one of the greatest things that's ever happened in my life, because my whole life I felt weird. I felt like, I didn't belong. I felt like different than everybody else.
Right.
And I found out why finally, when I got diagnosed with Asperger's. And when I was young, when I went back to my mom, I was hyperactive. I used to pull on my ears like if I had noises, but they just didn't know back then. So I went undiagnosed till 42 years old.
Right.
And then when they found it out, they're like, oh, you don't seem socially awkward. And what it was is my whole life I went by a character. When I was in media, you
learned how to cope with this on your own, whatever it was.
And she discerned what, like, they gave me like the men's practice test, and like I scored super high on it. And then they're like, oh, okay. And she put 2 and 2 together, that my smart side figured out that if I stayed active, it would keep the Asperger's side at bay.
Right.
And then so it was like I finally had an answer for it.
I mean, and that's the thing. I have many clients who come in kind of similar to your situation. They know something's not quite right, especially with the personality disorders that I deal with. A lot of that is genetic. A lot of that is chemical.
Yeah.
It's not situational, right? And they're just like, I'm struggling with this. And they start describing. And when we really hone in on an actual diagnosis, not a label. I don't like labels, but answers are important, because then we can start to treat it appropriately. I mean, these people have tried all of these different things and gone, and it hasn't worked.
And I didn't, because I didn't know.
Relief.
I didn't know for so long. And now, like, if I start getting upset, because it used to spiral, and then now I can stop and be like, okay, is this really it, or is it that side creeping in?
And you have a toolbox.
And I didn't. And the thing is when I got diagnosed, I didn't believe it. I was like, because I saw it as a weakness. I was like, there's no way. I was like, I'm smart, I'm articulate. Look what I do for a living.
Right.
And then I started reading into it, and I was like, people with Asperger's are great actors. They're different. Being able to read a script and follow to a T. And my therapist said, she's like, everything that hinders you is what makes you exceptional.
That's right.
And it's finding that line in the middle where you can, and she's like, that's why you've always been super entrepreneur. That's why you've been, the drive for knowledge or reading books or, being laser focused on things.
Right.
But I was in denial of it. And I remember when I accepted it, I was in a store. It was a grocery store.
Okay.
And there was a kid that came in with like full blown Asperger's. Like, he was wearing a helmet because he was just full.
Right.
And I saw him, and then like he got closer to me, and he started freaking out, and he was hitting his helmet, and everything else. And like his dad was like, what buddy? And like me, it was weird. I felt like Dr. Doolittle.
Right.
One of the refrigerators was making this high pitched noise.
Okay.
And I could hear it.
Right.
And then I saw him
right.
and I saw
and
it reacting, and like I almost teared up because
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I get it. And it was like I spoke his language for a
Sure.
second. And that was
Right.
the thing that was like, boom, wow.
Right. And being able to have that empathy
Yeah.
for other people. So, you know, I mean, and that's a big part of this too. When we go through things like, and when, you know, you found out about that, now there's like a whole world that's opened up, and you
Yeah.
can even help people with that, like with this
And the
boy,
thing is,
right?
I'm different now. Like
Right.
I'm different, and
Right.
like this whole thing has sparked change so much so, you know, because like this whole drive, I feel like a different person now because having understanding is huge.
Education is power.
Yeah.
And so when we can educate ourselves with what we're struggling with,
Yep.
I mean,
And even doing this, like people are like, oh, you know, this isn't a look at me thing. It's
Right.
me trying to give back.
Absolutely.
And like, you know, you seem confident in here. I'm like, you know, I mean, I'm just as
Right.
scared as the guests that come in here,
Right.
but I just, you know, I feel like it's something I have to do, and in giving back and doing things like that.
Right.
But yeah, I'll never forget that moment with that kid.
Yeah.
Like it felt like Dr. Doolittle. Like
Yeah,
I could
that's
hear
amazing.
exactly what was causing his distress. And once he got away from it, he
was
calmed
fine.
down.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, wow.
That's pretty cool.
So, but yeah, so anyone who's listening, I think don't make it a pride thing. If you think there's something that you need, just go get help.
And it's anything. I mean, I have people who just come in just for kind of maintenance, you know,
Yeah.
just like, you know, once every month, once every few months, you know,
Because sometimes
just
it's good to have somebody that you can just,
right. Or if they're trying to make a big decision, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or something that, you know, my job is not to give advice. I don't give advice. I come alongside and we figure it out together.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, a lot of times people go, well, how can I come in and just tell a stranger like all of my deepest darkest? I don't have a dog in the fight. Right?
Right.
I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. I'm not in your family. I'm not your friend. I don't know any of these people
yeah,
in
you
your
got to
life.
go live with your husband. I don't.
Right.
You know,
And so I can give you a completely, you know, non-biased, not judgmental, just, you know, perspective of it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I see adults. You're a grown adult. You can make your decisions, but I can come alongside and we can kind of figure it out, you know, the healthiest way, you know, to do it. So yeah, it doesn't even have to be anything severe.
Deep,
you know,
yeah.
Right. I mean, and it can be. That's great too. A lot of times though, when people come in, we start to uncover things, you know, that may be causing some, you know, everything's really a symptom when they come in. There's
Yeah.
a root cause of it. So,
there's something that could
right.
be there that you're like,
if we
oh,
can process that, then the symptoms to kind of take care of themselves. And if we can get a toolbox on how to cope with those symptoms, we're golden.
Yep.
You know, so
because
yeah.
even with mine, I didn't go there because I thought I had,
Right.
like we uncovered that.
right. And that's
And
that's
that
usually
was
what
just
happens.
a revelation across. I was like, oh, that's why when I was 10, this, and that's why this, and that's why this.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because there were certain things like in school, like if a teacher read the thing that we were doing, I could
couldn't.
recall it from memory.
Right.
And
Right,
like,
right.
so I would get hundreds on tests without even studying because I would
Right.
just replay the tape in my head of
Right.
what she said, you know, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense now,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, like it was pride for a long time for me
Sure.
that kept me away.
I think that's a big one.
I thought I'd be perceived as weak.
Well, and that's still, you know, it has gotten better. It really has. I will say that it has gotten much better. But there is still that stigma, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you go to, you know, a lot of my clients will say, I'm proud to say that, you know, I come to see you. You know, but then there's still that, you know, I don't want anybody to know, you know, and there's still that. And, you know, we try to make it as normalized. That's why I tell people, you know, we go to the doctor for a broken bone, but we're afraid to go for the most intricate part of our body, you know, that has the most, you know, so many things going on that probably has the most,
It's the engine.
right. It's the engine, but it can, a lot of things can happen there that maybe aren't quite right.
Yeah.
A lot of things. And, you know, so why wouldn't we go make sure that it's the healthiest it can be?
And the other thing I learned in my journey is putting good things into your brain as well as
Right.
like food in your body.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, I really went into a lot of like, you know, self-help and entrepreneurial success and
Right.
like reading, you know, and podcasts
Right.
and, you know, that stuff. like I started seeing a change in all aspects
We
of my life when I do
are
that.
what we bring in,
Yep.
what we hear, what we see. Our environment is everything. So if we can, and that's one of the tools. That's the thing. All right, tell me about the people around your life. Tell me about what you're watching on TV. Tell me about what you're listening to. All of that. There are messages there. In our brain, we train our brain to think a certain way.
Yeah.
And over time, and then we start to believe that we're telling ourselves. It could be complete lies.
Absolutely.
And absolutely, we've trained it to think negatively. We can absolutely retrain it to think positively. That's a lot of what I do, with my clients. But that takes work because it's years of thinking a certain way.
Yeah. So then you got to kind of reprogram your overall.
But it's possible. It's work.
So what do you think are like some first healthy steps to just get in the place you need to be?
Sure. So, I think it's important. Support is a big one. So we need to make sure, do I have friends? A lot of people are like, I don't have any friends. All right, well, how do we make friends? How do we do that?
Or they might be fake friends.
It might be fake friends. We need healthy friends.
Yeah.
We need good, healthy friends. So start, thinking about that. What are things I enjoy? Are there things that I used to enjoy that I don't do anymore? Are there things that I'm interested in learning about? That's self-care. What am I doing on a daily basis? Whether it's take a bath, do a facial, whatever, small things. Little changes, just small. I'm all about baby steps, all about them. So little changes that you can do that are healthy, that are positive. This is a big one. One thing I tell a lot of my clients to do, when you're starting to feel a certain way, anxious, depressed, what's going on up here? I want you to write it down. What did you just tell yourself? Was it, I'm not good enough? Was it, I'm going to fail at this? What was it? Write it down.
Are you a fan of journaling?
Huge fan of journaling.
I think putting it on paper makes it more real.
We use a different part of our brain when we talk and when we write. Okay. We go throughout our day, our life, and we file stuff in the back of our brain. It's like a filing cabinet, right? Stuff happens to us. Oh, we're just going to press on. We're just going to put our big girl panties on and go. That filing cabinet gets full, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, I can't take it anymore.
I read something like 2,000 something thoughts per minute or something.
When you tell me something, like if you were to speak a sentence to me, you've thought it 300 times. Wow. So think about, the thoughts that we start to believe, right? And so, but yeah, you're right. When we write or when we come in and talk about things, we're using the front part of our brain. Okay. So that's almost like just being able to kind of get out, almost let it go in a way, right? Yep. And so journaling is huge. And so I'm big on even thought journals, writing down that negative thought that you just had, but also then writing down a positive, true thought. I'm all about positive thinking. That's great. But I'm really about evidence-based thinking. Right. Is there evidence that you're going to lose your job today? Why are you worried about it? Is there evidence that you're, whatever you're telling the future about? You're not a fortune teller.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't have evidence for that. So that doesn't even need to be part of your thought life. What's a more true positive thought?
And
then tell yourself that.
That affects so many people because I have a friend all the time. They'll they create these outcomes that aren't even true. And it's it's
catastrophic outcomes.
And it's
the worst.
it's the worst of the worst, and it's debilitating.
Yes.
And
they believe it.
And then 99.9% of the time, it doesn't happen.
And there's evidence for that. I'll tell people, think of a time where you worried about something and the exact opposite happened, right? You need to remember that. There's evidence that this is not going to happen this way. So yeah, the fortune telling, the catastrophic thinking, the all or nothing thinking, this always happens. You never do this. It's not true. It doesn't always happen.
Always happen.
There's all those. So those are a lot of the skills that I use. And a lot of that, if they have never even, heard of that or, they only know what they know. You don't know what you don't know. So, a lot of that is just education and,
Very much. And I'm a true believer. I think anyone can achieve anything.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have a job if they couldn't. So.
It's it's not just losing weight. It's if any human's done it before, you're wired, you could do it too.
Absolutely.
And even if they haven't done it before, it doesn't mean that it can't be done.
Absolutely.
It's like we're remarkable machines,
Yeah. But this is what drives it.
Yeah.
So this has to be healthy. I'm not going to be able to get up at 4 in the morning and go to a workout and go and then see 8 clients and then go at night if this isn't healthy, right? I'm just not going to be able to do it.
And then still come home and have to be mom and be wife and it's got to be to balance.
Sure, it is.
And like I said, if this is the engine, you got to put good stuff in it. You wouldn't put oil in an engine, you know what I mean? It's going to run like crap.
Right. That's right.
So, I think overall, people ask me all the time, how do you lose that much weight? And I'm like, you got to have the right mindset. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You won't work out
And
hard
if you're
enough.
doing
You
it for
won't
the
eat
wrong
right.
reason, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be, people come in and say, I just want to be happy. I just want to, okay, well, happiness is an experience, right? I mean, I got here, I win the lottery, I'm happy, right? But what they're really looking for, and they tie their happiness a lot of times to other people or things, or whatever. We start tying our happiness to somebody we can't control, we're going to get disappointed every time. Where does it come from? Inside. If I'm working out, if I'm eating right, if I'm doing self-care, things for me, that makes me happy. I'm not
Right.
depending on anybody else to do that, but myself. And so that can really
Very much
change it up. So.
And that was the whole thing too with me is like, I want to be the best version of me now,
Right.
and like, I never wanted to be that. Like I settled for less before. And like, that's why the motto of the show is pay yourself first and know your worth.
Yep.
If you have those two things, you can do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. Because you're in control.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
And your limits are set by you. So, I mean, how far you are or the other thing too is where you are right now is the product of all your decisions up to that point.
Yeah.
But the magic of it is you can just say boom and like go here.
That's right. And I think it's also important to mention too, we fail. I mean, you mentioned that before. There are going to be times where we don't make the right decision, right? And we don't, and we miss this or we do this. And so being able to give ourselves grace through that, is really important. A lot of people are it has to be perfect all the time. That can be another problem, for people, and they have to kind of be up at this level. Yeah, that's important to have those goals and everything, but you're allowed to fail.
Because to fail is human.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do we learn how to walk?
Right.
How do we
Right.
learn how to talk?
Right.
You don't perfectly have words all, it's like you can't pronounce for a while.
Right.
And then you learn the vowels and then you learn
Right.
the sounds and like,
Right.
that's how we're wired to learn,
Right.
is, you fall down, you hurt your knee, all of a sudden you're finally walking so you don't fall anymore.
Right. And then when you do fall, you already have the skills that you're not going to let that kind of sink you back down into like where you were before. I'll tell people who kind of like fall off the wagon or, I did this again. You have not lost any of the progress you've made.
Yeah.
You have tools now to be able to cope with that. You didn't have those before. It's never back to where you were ever, right? Never. So, I mean, that's important to remember too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for coming
Thank
in.
you for
Like I was
having
so
me.
excited about this. I think we
Yeah.
could do another 2-3
Sure.
hours
Right.
like easily.
Right.
So will you come back at some point?
Oh, absolutely. This is
we
great.
definitely got to
So
just
much
come
fun.
back and maybe we'll do like a Q&A one.
Yeah,
I think that'd be
that'd be
great.
awesome.
Have people write in questions.
Absolutely. I think that'd be so fun.
But I adore you. I think you're an amazing
you.
person. I
Thank
love
you. Same
seeing
to
how
you.
hard you work at the gym.
Oh, you're right there with me.
It's so crazy because like I want to see how far I can go now. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's the thing in my mind now. It was like I got here and now I just want to go.
Yeah.
I want to see
There's
how
always
far.
more.
Yeah. Well, you
Awesome.
inspire people every day. You
you.
help people every day, and thank you for doing that. And we'll have you back soon.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks for joining Talk My Way Out. Be sure to like, follow, comment, and subscribe. You can also reach out to us on social media at Talk My Way Out. Until next time, remember to pay yourself first and always know your worth.